Greetings and welcome to the introduction to astronomy. In this week's exploration of the solar system, we are going to talk about the Voyager 1 and 2 craft and their exploration of the outer solar system. So let's look at Voyager 1 and 2 here. Well, they were launched on August 20th of 1977 and September 5th of 1977. Now they took different paths. So you actually note here that Voyager 2 was launched a few weeks before Voyager 1. However, because of the trajectories, Voyager 1 was sent to reach each of the planets first. So it visited Jupiter in March of 1979 and then Saturn in November of 1980. Now it was designed when it visited Saturn to go by the large moon of Saturn known as Titan. So because of the variation in its orbit, it was unable to proceed on to the other planets in the outer solar system. But that allowed it to actually get close up views of the moon Titan, which is the only moon in the solar system with a substantial atmosphere. Voyager 2 then arrived at Jupiter a few months later in July of 1979. It arrived at Saturn in August of 1981 and used the gravity of that to be able to transfer on to the outer parts of the solar system. Now they took an unusual orbit because of the specific orientation of the planets. So a rare alignment of the planets, allowing them to be roughly on the same side of the solar system here, allowed the craft to visit both of these or all of these planets at the same time. So Voyager 1 launched in September of 77, traveled out, went to Jupiter, went around past Saturn, and then Uranus, and then headed out of the solar system. That's Voyager 1. Voyager 2 was able to use Saturn's gravity to be able to head on to Uranus and Neptune and explore those two as well. But it was set up this way because in the late 1970s there was a very specific alignment of the planets that allowed that, because normally, as you might imagine, you couldn't go out, travel out, say, around and travel to Uranus and then turn around and have to go all the way back out to get to Neptune. It wouldn't work. It would just be way too time consuming because it takes, as you can see, years and years to travel between these planets. It took them nearly a decade to get from Earth out to the planet Uranus, and then a few more years to get out to Neptune. And that's with it being on the flight path. So it was only because of the specific alignment that we were able to visit all of these planets at once. Now, as we look, here are some of the things that it visited. It visited the planet Jupiter and actually gave us up close views of all of its moons. We can see its four large moons here. Io off in the distance, the smallest one. Europa there very close to Jupiter, and then Ganymede and Callisto closer in toward the viewer of the image. And after that, both of them were able to view Saturn. And here we see an image of Saturn with a couple of its moons, including one of the moons casting a shadow on the planet. And then Voyager 2 was able to head off to Uranus and view that planet, giving us our only up close look at that planet to date. That is the closest only time we've ever explored Uranus or Neptune at all. So those are the only times we've ever looked at these. Now, as of 2025, these craft are still active and do still communicate back to Earth. However, it is likely within the next few years that they will be unable to communicate. The loss of energy will be sufficient because these are in the outer solar system. You couldn't use things like solar panels. The sun is too far away and not giving off near enough energy for them to be used. So they use what are called radioisotope generators that produce electricity through the decay of radioactive elements. However, since they have a specific half-life, they slowly will deteriorate and can no longer produce enough energy to keep all of the equipment functioning, just a minimal amount right now, to be able to communicate and send what findings they are able to get from now outside the influence of the sun, as they've passed past the edge of the solar system and the sun's influence into interstellar space. So let's go ahead and finish up with our summary here. And what we've looked at today the Voyager craft, and they were launched to explore the outer solar system in the 1970s. Voyager 1 visited Jupiter and Saturn only, including the large moon of Saturn, Titan. And Voyager 2 was able to complete the grand tour and visited all 4 of the outer planets. So that concludes this discussion on the exploration of the solar system, talking about the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 craft. We'll be back again next week for another topic in exploration of the solar system. So until then, have a great day, everyone, and I will see you in class.